Our buddy David Greenshield has a question here, basically citing what a lot of teams that are maybe not quite there yet to challenge the big boys. Would they rather go and play in a Rose Bowl or in a significant bowl game rather than get to the playoff and get clobbered? I think this is where David is headed here, that maybe a lot of USC fans would like to fall a little bit short so they don't get embarrassed in a playoff situation.
Well, I think you try to achieve as much as you can at USC, but here's the real thing: USC is not getting into the playoff, and I know, I think I've seen either Tim or LBC in the comments saying, there's still a chance, there's still an alley. I think we need to really shut that down, because USC is not going to get a bump from a win over Notre Dame. Now, it will get a bump from a win over UCLA, but it will not get a bump from a win over Notre Dame. And so Arizona, Cal, Colorado, you're not getting any sort of bump from those. So there's really only one. I mean, UCLA, and then if USC makes the Pac-12 championship game, all right, a little bit, but USC needed that Notre Dame game to be a high leverage, high value game. If you're really trying to get the attention of voters of that committee, like you wanted that Thanksgiving game in prime time in the Coliseum to be like that spotlight, all eyes on USC type moment. And on November 19th, you're going to have USC UCLA going up against Utah Oregon. Those two games are going to be the same day. So they're going to split up the national focus on those games. Assuming that Utah is still in the mix, and all four teams in the Pac-12 are still in the mix, the top four going to that day, it's not going to be really a story of USC making its statement, even if it beats UCLA, because you also have that Utah-Oregon result that's going to cut into the national reality. And so that, coupled with USC not getting a Notre Dame boost, and the Pac, if USC is in the Pac-12 championship game, that obviously means it will have beaten UCLA. So that means that every Pac-12 team will have one loss. You're not getting like the real high-end resume under those circumstances. You'll have a couple really good wins, but you don't have a 13-game body of work that's going to survive Ohio State being unbeaten, Clemson being unbeaten, and then very likely that you're going to get two SEC teams with one loss. Georgia beating Tennessee, that means that Georgia would be probably unbeaten, and then you have Alabama in the SEC West, and then Tennessee could finish 11-1 after losing to Georgia. So you just look at the whole thicket, and there's no path through the labyrinth for a one-loss USC or really any one-loss Pac-12 champion. I'm of the view that UCLA has to run the table. That is the reasonable scenario that gets the Pac-12 into the playoff. Look, Utah has two losses. Utah's done. Utah's not even available for playoff consideration. Oregon lost by 46 to Georgia. Oregon's done. It's really UCLA or USC. And again, with USC not getting a Notre Dame boost, just the avenues just aren't there. And so we can complain about how bad Tommy Rees is at his job in South Bend for USC not getting a Notre Dame boost.
So, Matt, I generally agree with that, but I'm going to play the other side of it. So in a similar way to you shutting down, or most likely the committee shutting down Oregon because of an egregious loss in week 1, they could also look at a USC loss to Utah and under standard exclaim the loss based on the officiating, based on 1 point, 2-point play at the end of the game, Rice Eccles, difficult place to play, and especially if Utah runs the table and they finish 10-2, that USC's lone loss is to a quality team, difficult place to play in a controversial game, if they're going to take the deep dive as they should and really look at it. And even if we give 3 spots to the SEC, Big Ten, and ACC, the Big 12 may cannibalize itself, and there may be a difficult decision to make between a USC as a one-loss and a Clemson as a one-loss champion.
Yeah, well, USC is a one-loss. If it's USC with 1 loss and Clemson at 1 loss, yeah. But the problem is the SEC is likely to get 2, and the SEC could even get 3 if Ohio State and Michigan both lose. But like that's really a problem in terms of for USC. the Big Ten champions almost certainly going to be unbeaten. Like the Michigan-Ohio State winner certainly looks like it's going to be unbeaten because we saw Michigan drill Penn State. And if Penn State's the third best team in the Big Ten, which is very possible since Illinois might be the opponent in the Big Ten championship game, like I don't see Ohio State losing to any Big Ten West team. So it's got to, if Ohio State's going to lose, it's going to be either to Penn State or to Michigan. And I'm not seeing it. Like I'm not seeing either Michigan or Penn State with the quarterback play to hang with Ohio State. But let's ride with the hypothetical. Let's say Michigan does upset Ohio State in Columbus, and that would be an upset. Where's Michigan going to lose? You know, Michigan's already taken care of Penn State. Is Michigan going to lose to any of the teams from the Big Ten West? Don't see it happening. And Michigan State's awful. Like, you know, I know Sparty's been a thorn in Harbaugh's side, but this year it's certainly not lining up for the Spartans to beat Michigan. That game's going to be in Ann Arbor. Michigan State's not very good. I mean, beat Wisconsin, but Wisconsin's not very good. Like, so the Big Ten is weak, and also Clemson in the ACC. Clemson's already taken care of the two toughest games on its ACC schedule by beating North Carolina State and Wake Forest. The Coastals is an absolute disaster. The odds-on favorite to win the Coastal and play Clemson in the ACC title game, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I think Mac Brown's going to even touch Clemson with a 39.5-foot pole. So just the dynamics of the Big Ten and the ACC certainly point to Ohio State being unbeaten, Clemson being unbeaten. And like if one of Clemson or Ohio State loses, well, if the other one is still unbeaten, that team is still getting in. And then you have two teams in the SEC, possibly three. You know, the windows are just very narrow, and USC needs a lot of dominoes to fall. A lot, not a few, a lot. And it's just really hard to envision at this point.
Matt, how dare you discount Syracuse going to Death Valley this Saturday?
Well, hey, maybe it'll turn out the way it did 5 years ago with Chase Bryce needing to come off the bench, complete a fourth down pass. To beat Syracuse. Syracuse came very close that day 5 years ago, but really,
well, actually, that was 4 years ago. 5 years they did do it in the Carrier Dome.
Well, they won in the Carrier Dome. Okay, that was 2017. Okay, got the years mixed up.
And then in 18 was Trevor Lawrence's undefeated team. Yep. King Vegeta, yes, UCLA will go 12-0 and get a playoff spot. You know, I would have chuckled. Now I will chuckle at that. I would have done a belly laugh about 5 or 6 weeks ago, but who knows?
UCLA has to go 13-0, 12-0 just gets you a ticket to Las Vegas, and we all know how many dreams have died in Las Vegas in the course of human history.